Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is you're listening to me from. So today's episode or today's video, I'm going to be talking about 12 ways to make your brand stand out in 2026. By the way, Happy New Year in case this is the first time being here. I will say this, for the next few weeks and then stop. So I decided to do this video just, this is all part of our Welcome to 2026 series where I'll be sharing things that I think we should think about as the year gets off to a start. How are we going to show up? How are we going to show out? And this is targeted at business leaders, communications leaders, professionals, chief communications officers, people who are decision makers and in that position of thinking about how, what's next to do for the brand. So this is just sort of like 12 ways that you can, make your corporate brand stand out in 2026, be more visible, more present, more recognizable. I find out that in a lot of conversations that I have with people, some of my mentees, this is always something that, particularly those who work in PR agencies, the people, the brief that the most common brief they always get is being asked to make a brand more visible. And it's not rocket science. It's not as difficult as people make it out to be. It's actually doable, but there are things that you need to do to make this work. So let's just stay here. I'm going to try and make this as short, brief, and brave as possible. So first of all, you need to have a compelling narrative. Now, I think there's a misconception that people have. I see this a lot, particularly in our part of the world in Nigeria, where people think that making a brand visible is they focus more on the motion rather than the message. And the point is, every story that goes far there's a message. Even when you look at it, things that viral trends they don't just go viral. It's the story that causes that drives the virality. So if you want to stand out, and I'm not talking about viral trends here. I wish I didn't even use that word because that, being viral and being productive and selling and sales is not the same thing. Well, I'll talk about that in a separate video. But the point is, if you want to do a campaign or make your brand more visible, there has to be a message, there has to be a narrative, and it has to be written down by somebody. And if nobody is willing to do that hard work, then please, you're not ready to go out and make yourself visible. Some people think it's just about, oh, let's just go out, let's just, do this, do that. You're just going to be busy all over the place, and you make a lot of noise, 24 hours flash and dance, and after that, it's gone. We don't remember you. But if you take the time to articulate who you are, what your brand stands for, your corporate brand stands for, and how you want it to be seen and perceived. And then you then visualize that into a series of messages and campaigns that you pull out over time on media, social media, comedy, whatever platforms, events, campaigns, conferences, exhibitions from January to December. That makes sense. Every time we see that brand, we can then remember, oh, this is the brand that does this, or is responsible for doing this, or is known for doing this, or excels at doing this. So, but somebody has to write it down. I found out that many corporates are very lazy about doing the hard work to articulate this brand, and a lot of communications professionals too don't. The problem, what I see, the scenario that happens many times is that the people just say, oh, go out there. The comms person, they just says go out. So literally, as in they get the message today, in 2 days' time, they're already out there doing campaigns and writing caption. You cannot have any long-term success that way. How do you want to do a communications plan that you developed in 48 hours when it's not a crisis plan? So, and you're expecting long-term results, it's not possible. So really it's about, are you building a brand to last, or are you just doing flash in the pan as per, okay, let's just make a little bit of noise, capitalize on it for short-term gains, and then that's that. If you are building to last, you need to sit down, do the hard work to write compelling narrative, a story about the brand, test it, make sure that it's fine and robust, and then you begin to push it out through different platforms. So that's number one. Number two, progressive storytelling. Again, this is another area that I see that a lot of brands fail. Some are very good at it. The brands that are very good at this do really well. And a lot of what I'm saying here, even though I'm saying corporate brand, just know that when I mean corporate, I mean the headquarters, the institutional brand. It can apply private sector, public sector, institutional, NGO, faith-based, whatever. You have to learn how to carry people along. Progressive storytelling. Communications is not something that you just show up one day, flash in the pan, you make a lot of noise, and then we don't hear anything about you again for a very long time to come. Yeah, so you have to be able to be telling the story, progressively carrying people along, not just like you just say something one day and then, you come back another day or that kind of thing, which is what a lot of us just do. That progressive storytelling is something that needs to be mastered. That really helps you because then, and I call this a tell, excuse me, a tell and a show strategy. So that really helps you to like stay top of mind because it's not just about something that you said once. It's about you continuous storytelling. So definitely, and that means you have to set up the structure to make that possible. You can't just be telling stories if you do not have the ability to. So the next thing I want to talk about is, having an integrated media and communications plan. This is really, really important. And, again, this is planning it from the beginning of the year. We're talking about 12 ways to make your corporate brand stand out in 2026. So it's important to have an integrated media and communications plan. The way this works is from the beginning of the year, you look at your entire, calendar for the year, what you're going to, the milestone just you're likely to hit, the events, notable events, and then you build a PR plan around it. From the beginning of the year, you put resources, budgets, whatever, agencies, however you want to do it. Of course, somebody has to come up with that strategy for you before we're even talking about a plan. So you do that and you have that in place from the beginning of the year. And of course, in that, you're going to be telling, it's part of the progressive storytelling. So it's not, because what I see a lot of people doing is when you have an event in April, you start planning around it. That's not the way comms is done. If you want to stand out, your brand to really stand out and have presence, you plan it from the beginning of the year. So media and communications, internal and external, publicity, campaigns, events, corporate conferences, exhibitions, social media posts, print media, TV appearances, all of that you would have planned it into a strategy and a structure for that. And there are frameworks for this, if you if you need help, ask. Then number four, products and brand differentiation. That's another thing. And this is assuming, so you can, if you're a product company, then you should be differentiating yourselves by your products. And then your products, the stories that you tell around your products is part of what you use as your campaign strategy. So in your annual communications plan, there will be some element that will be product campaign storytelling, product, not just promotions now, but just really telling the story of the product. This is how we came about it, the research process, the development process, what people that, user generated content, create avenues and events where people can talk about their experience with your products and with your services. It's all about the storytelling. When you're telling a story, it's just like when you watch movies. At some point, some of them they use third voice where somebody's narrating the story, but some other times they go into the characters. So we follow the plot of the characters to get the whole essence of what the entire movie is about. No matter who the main character is not the only character. There's a whole story. That's exactly how it is. It should be with your brand. So, in as much as there's a narrative, we would also be seeing the perspectives from the corporate, perspective from products, perspective from services, from programs, from events, and all of them should be telling a cohesive story. Again, these are things that are worked. If you have communications professionals and experts that are working with you, they can help you craft this thing. But this is how it is done. This is what makes people see you as a credible brand that now stands out. If you're doing things wishy-washy, today you are here, tomorrow you're not there, you can't stand out. You blend into the crowd. Do you understand? We can't differentiate you from anybody else. So you can use your products to do that. You can also use your corporate brand, differentiate your corporate brand in terms of, and again, I'm not just talking about logo and color, which is what people think. I'm talking about how you relate with people, how you communicate, how you manage relationships, how you treat your clients, how you treat your customers, just everything about how you present yourself. So just differentiate yourself. I have always learned personally in my life, differentiation has always been a strong thing for me. If you look at me, even my personal style on the personal level, I make sure I don't do what everybody else does. I will not go into details, but you know what I mean. But why do I do that? Because honestly, I hate blending in. I don't like to blend in. My role in life is not to blend in. It's to find most authentic version of myself, and that has really helped me because trying to blend in is stressful because you are not, particularly if it's not, the blending is not blending. I'm not saying that you are an outlier for the sake of it, but I'm saying be yourself, your most authentic version of yourself in a positive way. And I think that's a way to make yourself stand out. If you are different and what is unique about your brand, that's what you should be communicating. Don't be communicating what everybody else is doing. What are you doing that no one else is? That's what should be at the heart of your messaging. There may be, of course, there'll be some things everyone else is doing that you're doing. I mean, those are things, but then you cannot build your campaign on what's it's not different or build even your external presence. How then do we differentiate you from others? So to help us choose you and recognize you, And then show us what makes you different. That's the essence of what your PR strategy should be. And this is important for business leaders to understand. So whenever I hear people say things like, "Oh, our competitor did this, we want to do the same, we should be doing this." Why? Why do you want to do what your competitor is doing? Doesn't really. You can't even come up with something on your own. Your story is different. Your beginning is different. Yes, you are in the same industry, same sector. Your products, your service, the perception, the market that you are targeting, and the field of play is completely different. So find your space and play in it. So customer service as PR, that's a very good way of standing out, and people don't really know this. Your customer, the way you treat your customers is actually the lowest hanging of public relations and reputation management. It can stand you out. I'm saying this from experience. It can also be a negative thing for you if you don't know how to manage your customer relationships. So I would say in 2026, you want to make your brand stand out. If you have customer service going on a daily basis, please repair it and make them handle it in a way that it becomes a PR thing for the company. It's part of the elements, because you cannot be out there telling all kinds of stories, say that we are all that, and then your customer service is crap. And the user experience is horrible. So whether it's customer service in real life, online, or on a digital platform, make sure that it's excellent. People send you chat messages, you respond, you are thoughtful. Just handle it like you're doing a PR thing. Now, thought leadership. This is one of my favorites because it's something that we use a lot in SA&A. When the easiest way to make your brand stand out on social media, online, is to lead in terms of thought, in terms of thinking. Be the one to help explain to people help them make sense of things that are going on around them, areas of your expertise. For instance, in Nigeria, there's the tax law that is coming out. I see how a lot of people in the tax space are coming out to speak and explain things to them. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't get it right. But people appreciate the fact that the experts are speaking out. And even if you don't want to go into things that are like regulatory driven, like tax, I'm saying whether it's, if you are in, for instance, you're in the building business, you should be talking to us about building safety, how to know, materials, things that are good, fire hazards, how to present this. You should be sharing, using that expertise that you have in a community service way. It's very, very important. Not just everything. Every time it's promotion is about, you're always targeting, government. Do things that are useful for society, other people in the industry as well. Lead based on the thoughts, the areas that you are well positioned to talk about. If you are in the medical practice or health or any of those kind of things, you can begin to share a lot of information about public health, about, terminal diseases, how to keep safe, childcare, motherhood care, anything that will help people. Just in the area of your expertise, lead with thought. You can also even make it really technical leadership stuff. So it could be your bread and butter issues. Like we in SA&A, we do a lot of content really showing thought leadership in terms of how we think strategic communications should be. At the beginning of the year, we came out with a small short mini white paper or ebook thing where we were saying this is the strategy, the outlook for strategic communications in 2026. It doesn't mean that we're 100% infallible. What we're saying is that based on what we've seen in 2025, because we believe that we're a strong player in this space, we can share our views about where we see the profession going, the kind of demand that we see happening from the corporate space and the business and institutional space and political space, and where professionals should position themselves, the kind of services that we think that people need, the kind of resources that we think organizations need to get in terms of reputation, expertise, and communication specialism and journalism as well, and what we can do to just prepare ourselves for what's ahead of us. So that's what we do, and we share that information freely, as part of our community service. But it also helps our brand. It helps us stand out because, to be honest, we're really the only ones doing that. So community social service activities. Again, if you're a major brand or even a middle brand and you have a presence, you have a brick and mortar presence. Even if you don't have a brick and mortar presence, something you can, plan to do. Think about what you can do for the community. That can really make you stand out. Particularly if your business is that kind of business that really depends on the community to survive and thrive. You have a shop, you're on the road, you have a physical address and all of that. You need to really think about that and plan it well. And of course, do it in a good way, sustainably, work with local community people, the government, local government, and all of that, and make that shine out. And don't just do it because you want to look good. Do it because it's the right thing to do. So choose the activity that you're going to support that are relevant to the community and that make sense. And of course, you talk about it, you promote it. Remember, I said this is a tell and a show strategy. So it's not just about telling, you have to be able to show. And I'm very, very big on ethical things. So don't just, come out and, like some people do, just come out and do something, and at the end of the day, it's not really, you just took the photos, and you didn't actually do what you claim that you are doing. So please not do that. Let's be ethical about it. It's better not to do anything at all than to do something that at the end of the day would even harm your brand more. It's just not worth it. So showcase excellence in performance. I mean, don't be shy. If your brand has done something really good, talk about it, because if you don't tell the story, nobody else is going to do it. And if you don't tell us, we don't know, because we're not psychic, we're not working for your brand, and I'm behind, we have other things to do, we're living our lives. So you are the one that's going to bring it to our attention and be like, yeah, 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 we actually developed that project, we did this, we did that, and then we let allow people to interact with it, so that later when we see your brand, we can connect it to that thing that you guys did. So showcase excellence in performance. That's something I would really recommend, and we have to do this proactively in 2026. Serve your community. That's linked to the other thing I have up there, and again, that's very important. You have to define who your community is and, serve them. Find a way to make sure that's one way to stand out, because many corporates do not serve their community. Even when they do, they don't do it well. So if you want to, and to me, to be honest, standing out is always a positive. Then I'm talking about, of course, I'm talking about positive standing out. And there are many ways to do it. The reason why I've said these 12 ways, I'm not saying you should do all, but you can pick and choose. And if you can do all, then we are really going to stand out. You know what I'm saying? You can stand out. Even one or two of these things can make you stand out. I mean, I always tell the story of my former workplace where it was an oil company, was very good, was a leading company in Nigeria and all of that, the first pioneering international oil company in Nigeria. But over time, we became known for one thing, and that was for safety. Meanwhile, it's not a safety company. It's an oil and gas producing company. But because safety was such an integral part of the operations and it was socialized and, it had become an employee value proposition thing, and there was so much thought leadership in that area. They were just so ahead of everybody else. People knew them for safety, so much so that even last year, I was at an event. This is 5, 6 years after I've left the company, after about 22 years of working there. I was at an event where something happened, and the person said, "Oh, Shola, you worked for so and so company. You should know that this is, the way this should be." And the person was reminding me of the safety mantra of that company, even though the person knew that I no longer work there. So that's how much you can actually serve a community by being known for one thing that you're doing consistently. So the next one I'll talk about there is, this should be like the 10th, celebrate wins. And this is also linked to showcasing excellence in performance. I mean, I remember towards the end of last year, I was invited to an end of year party by one of my favorite clients, to be honest, oil company as well, and they were having a celebration marking how 20 years of operations and some other things, which they had announced this thing at the end of in August, but they were not having a party. And this is why when people say things like, "Oh, we shouldn't," not every time we are doing party, people miss the point. Parties or events give you the opportunity to celebrate wins. And it's important to celebrate wins. Why? To reward and recognize the effort of the employee, but also to tell the story and show. Because even when you write something, you write a press release, you are telling. But when you do an event, there's an element of show in it, because you will have to have visuals, people will be there, and everybody know that these people could not have called people together for something if this really didn't happen. What was interesting to me, I attended this event just as a guest, and I got back like I usually do on LinkedIn, and I did a story, just a post about it. And there was something that the chairman said in the remarks, which I quoted, and I just told the story around how this brand has been operating for like 20 years since they got first oil, but that before that there was 13 years of no oil and all of that. And I just said a story, and the kind of response I got was really amazing to me, because everybody, and it was like all the responses, mostly from people in the industry as well, but they were responding as though they were hearing it for the first time. Meanwhile, the press release had been released months ago. So I'm sure some people saw it, but I think it did not clock in. It was seeing it again through the eyes of someone else that they now realize that, wow, this is really something. Because, of course, there was an angle that I brought into it, which was the story of how long it took them and the perseverance and the resilience to get to where they were. But what created the opportunity for that was, one, that the company decided to have an event to celebrate the win that had happened months before. And there was staff were present there. And they even invited people like myself. It's very important. These are all the things that make you, what did I say, stand out. And that's why you can imagine I'm telling this story here now, because it stayed in my mind. So all of that, they got earned media publicity free of charge from inviting me to the event. And that's why we said, again, in this whole campaign, well, those of us that are comfortable, we know that you use the PISO model, which was developed by what's her name, Gina, I've forgotten her surname right now, but from Spin Socks. And it's about using paid media, earned media, shared media, and owned media. You have to use all four. So in this case, this was free earned media via yours truly's platform. And it was quite, it got, I think, about 5,000 impressions then and about 200 comments or something like that, because the MD himself also, liked the comment, and then that then brought in a whole lot of people. Eventually, I even started getting congratulatory messages. I was going to reply and be like, look, I don't work for them, but I was like, well, I embrace it no matter what. So that's it. Do celebrate the wins. And then five, another thing that I think really some corporate brands know this, and they've used this to stand out and win loyalty, is treating your employees very well. Your full-time employees are, in fact, everybody that works with you in some shape or form, just treat them well. And I'm not saying, I'm not just talking about compensation and benefits. I'm saying respect, integrity, credibility, meeting your obligations. If you say this is what you're supposed to do, you do it. Not owing people salaries and things like that, and taking punitive actions. Just do what you're supposed to do. Treat them well, because those employees, it will get out. I mean, in the world, the corporate world, we find out that we know the companies that treat employees well and people that don't know people well. So it's impossible to stand out positively as a corporate brand if you are known for treating your employees very poorly, because it's just not a good look. So finally, the last point that I'll raise now is doing something positive and doing it well. And for me, even though I wrote here social action initiatives, I think it's not just about social action. I think you can also use your operational position to do something. So I'm saying, even whatever it is you're doing for the corporate brand or operationally, do it well and do it in a positive way. So I believe that for the businesses that will stand out are those that it cannot just be about, I want to make money. I mean, I will give an example of the Dangote refinery, even though I know some people may not agree with me with this. But you find out that whenever their CEO talks about the refinery, even in the language of the communications team, they talk about it as though it's Nigerians they are worried about. Do you understand? They don't come and tell you, they don't message it again as like we've built this refinery and you must buy from us, and by the way, it's always, the undertone is always like, this is in the national interest, the Nigerian people deserve this, we should not, we are here to serve, that kind of thing. And that has resonated very well with the people of Nigeria, which is why whenever, all the things that have happened in the last 1 year in that space, the public has been generally been on the side of the corporate entity, and others have been on the other side. Now, this is where, again, so they have done very well to stand out in the sector. They literally came into that sector, they disrupted it, and they're standing out. And my view on that is that, even though, I mean, the ways and their approach is not, they have their reasons. I guess they know why they handled it that way. But if I look at how they have handled their communications and their presence since they launched last year compared to how other players have done, I would say they are doing the right thing, because they are standing in the space and they are standing up for something and they are differentiating themselves. The others were comfortable being quiet, being how would I say, undifferentiated, not care. None of them was willing to ever show. Oh, they're just concerned about, let me just make my money and go. So now you don't have a brand presence. We don't know you. Of course, if the known person, the known brand speaks, we'll believe the known brand, because we know that person. The person has social capital. We don't know you, and we don't know what you do. All we know is that you have filling stations all over the place. You sell. You never talk to us. We don't care. We don't matter. We don't matter where you are concerned. So anything they tell us about you, we're going to believe you. So that's the thing. So, and just to bring this to a close, people would ask that, why is it important that you stand out? It's important that you stand out because you can only be a leading brand. It's impossible to be leading and not stand out. So if you don't want to stand out, that means you don't want to be differentiated. It also means you don't ever want to be a leader, because leaders have to be seen. So you cannot be leading from the back. It's not possible. Or leading on unknown. So if that's fine for you, then that's okay. So this presentation or this session is for people that needs to stand out. And from where I sit, there is a lot of, and again, remember we're talking about positive differentiation. There's a lot of benefits from standing out positively. Because first of all, that means that you have the space to come into conversations. More people want to do business with you. If you are asking for, you want to get investment, it's easier for you. There's other than, I mean, people who have to start a conversation with who are you. You are starting from this is what I want, or how can we help? That's how, so you jump several steps. It's just easier for you to get into conversations. People take you seriously. It's easier for you to grow and scale your business and to be a sustainable member of the public and the society of the sector when you are known. So even though I use the word standout, I had thought to make this 12 ways to make your corporate brand more visible. That standout means more visible, more credible, more trusted, more reliable, more differentiated. That's what we mean about standing out. It's not just standing out for notoriety. And when you say stand out, we're not saying stick out, because you can be sticking out and you're not standing out. Standing out means excellence. It means, vibrancy. It means we're seeing you, you're doing things, we want to be like you are a leader. That's what we're saying. So, and it's doable. So I would encourage all of us, and communications has a very, very big role to do with this. Of course, the operations, which I said, is a tell and is a show. So it's not just about telling. The important thing is this, and I say this to all communications professionals, when they tell you, we make my brand visible, let there be a buzz. Tell them where's the narrative. They have to help you get the story, because you cannot bring the story out of your head. It has to be a story that is based on facts and what's really going on. What are the stories that we can tell from January to December? What stories are best in quarter one, quarter two? And how much resources are you giving us for the media and communications plan? Well, how is our products differentiated? How is customer service handling the relationships? Because we cannot be running brand campaigns saying we are the best, and then customer service is dropping calls, people are calling, they're not listening to them. What are the topics that we can lead on? What are the topics that we can weigh in on? What is the content that we can share in society that will be useful for people? What are the social activities that we can do this year? How do we showcase excellence in performance? What can we do to serve our community better? Are we celebrating our wins enough? And employee value proposition, how do we compare with others in the sector? This is a very important thing for internal communications, which is an important aspect of making your brand stand out, because people hear. And most importantly, what are the things that we do that can be positive, and that we can do well, that people will be known for, not because we want to be known for it, but because it's the right thing to do. So on that note, I would say thank you very much for listening. I hope this was useful for you, and I hope that you will. I would like your feedback on some of what I've shared. If you think that this is doable and these are conversations that you can have, I wish you the best of 2026, and please make sure to initiate within your corporate brand spaces all the things that you think you can do to make your brand stand out positively and graciously in the year 2026. Till the next video, it is bye for now.